Socrates staked his life on the question of what it means to be pious. It requires one to have a just relationship with the gods, both virtuously and morally pursuant. But why is piety worth such investigation? Why is it worth defining? Does it really matter how one goes about their faith? Does it really have that much of an influence on things that we even need to ask the question? Yes, it does. Piety, in this sense, this just relationship with the gods, is a mechanism for something far deeper, far more emotional, that is not able to be interacted with through just performing habits and rituals. Performing tasks is not emotionally evocative. Performing tasks is not present and mindful. When you read the words of the Stoics, when you read Socrates' arguments on piety, when you read what Epictetus says regarding giving due reverence to the gods, when you experience Marcus Aurelius' attempt at trying to practice and incorporate these ideals in a deeply internal level, you understand it within the context of their lives. But there is no sudden notion as to how to carry that piety into your own life. There's almost no inclination to even do so, if I shall project myself onto everyone else. When I'm poring through their words, I didn't find myself needing or wanting or even thinking or caring about what piety meant in my own life. And I still tried to practice Stoicism, and I would do so by being present, being mindful. I could release myself from the things that I could not control. Certify myself that I'm aware of what my strengths and weaknesses are, that the things that come, though I cannot control them, I can control my actions in relation to them, my reactions, my judgments on the things that happen to me dictate my life. And that's certainly true. But as Marcus Aurelius stands to prove, that's not easy to do, and it's very inconsistent. He laments that he cannot be like them. He cannot become infatuated with himself in the mirror. He cannot be obsessed with how his hair should fall. Or why does he toil so much about the things that he must do in the day, things that he is meant to do as he is meant to live, and that he should thrust himself up out of the warmth of the bedsheets. Of course, as many say, a man of such stature, a man of such station, still inundated by the same struggles that we have. But what does this have to do with piety? When reading Marcus Aurelius, I never once got a cemented indication that he had a truly deep relationship with the gods. He may have had one, to be sure, but I'm not sure about just how emotionally fulfilled he was in that relationship. This lack thereof of this relationship, this lack of reverence for the gods, this lack of piety, that's something that I can relate to. There's nothing of a similar nature in my time as the average person. I was baptized at birth, but not raised around any religious structures or practices of any kind. And so for me, as the case is for many, in the world that we live in, most especially today, you must wonder and ask, what gods are there to be reverent untoward? What just relationship with the gods can I have? How is this even possible? How does this thought begin to occur to me that that's something that I should do, something that I might be missing? But you need to return to the mechanism of that piety, how it takes its shape. How does one have a just relationship with the gods? By being present and mindful. much the same as is already encouraged in Stoicism. But now you have an emotional investment in something that is not yourself. It is beyond yourself. Much of Stoicism is rooted in self-regulation and self-command, self-discipline. It's all internal. But there are implicit biases to the trains of your own thought, to yourself, that you cannot help. In other words, you will always sin. Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, is trapped beneath the weight of his blanket. That's not him. That's not him. Most assuredly, that's not him. But it is in that moment. Because our thoughts are not always all of us. They're not always indicative of your soul and who you truly are, and they'll commandeer you. They'll inundate you and sedate you, and you'll start to question yourself. You'll be in positions where you don't feel like yourself. So how do you resist this? How do you counteract the necessity of self-regulation within a biased system? Beyond constant refreshes and reruns and rewipes and resets, what's missing? Where can that mindfulness be applied to start to instill a deeper awareness that's not just about yourself? Piety, to be reverent of the gods, that your life is not just this thing to which you're responsible for keeping disciplined, making the most out of, doing just by. It's something that you need to be grateful for. Epictetus talks about the sword and the scabbard, and how finding those reliquary items would inspire one to ask and inquire upon who is the maker. If I find an old book, I will rightly ask, who wrote it? Who is responsible for putting these letters on the pages? But we often do not ask the same questions, Epictetus says, about the things we experience in our material life. That when we see the brilliance of the eyes with which we have been ordained to see, we do not wonder if a creator might be responsible for that. But that is what it means to be pious. There is such a order to things that have been able to give us life, that regardless whatsoever if you should believe in the machinations of a god, gods, or just chance, you can be reverent to that opportunity. And it is through that form of prayer, that form of meditation, that form of homage, that you start to invoke something deeper in yourself. You start to make yourself more emotionally sensitive to what it means to be alive. Because you are not just on earth to get a nice car, get a big house, get nice clothes. You're not on earth just for those things. There's something deeper about existence that you should realize first, so that you can go back to living in the present moment as we are naturally meant to, so that we can go about those things without always being so deep in our minds, as we should be living in the moment. It comes naturally to us, therefore it is right. It just needs to be measured first. Pursuing that deeper relationship, you're going to start to uncover what Socrates staked his life upon. This question of piety leads furthermore into the inevitable, objective, moral truth that virtues and morality are a part of an objective system. It is our fate. It is what we are meant to pursue in our lives. That good definitively beats evil by manner of its existence. It is necessity. It should be pursued because it is right. Because we have escaped the confines of the Leviathan, and we have staked our claim here in the present. We have superseded instinct. We have superseded the perilous unknown and discovered what is right. We have discovered objective morality. But the paradox is that Socrates says not just one man can claim to know what that objective morality is. Because in doing so, you would have to lack some of the virtues that are most assuredly a part of it. And so we know that it exists, but that not one person can define it. It is beyond us. And if that's possible, we start to lean back into the realm of some creation, something that has ordained existence. That is worthy to be reverent untoward. It is my firm belief that by being able to internalize that deeper emotional connection, your journey through Stoicism will be made that much easier, as it is meant to possess that quality of piety, to which, for Socrates and Epictetus, we can always be very grateful.